During Black History Month, a claim keeps resurfacing. The Civil Rights Act opened the door for Black immigrants to enter the United States. That claim needs clarification. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 ended segregation and outlawed discrimination in employment and public accommodations. It did not change the immigration law. Immigration law was restructured 1 year later under the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. That law eliminated the national origin quota system. Those are two separate pieces of legislation. Precision matters. Now, let's address the timeline. Black immigrants were present in the United States before 1965. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, migrants from the Caribbean, including Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad, entered the U.S. Some passed through Ellis Island. Migration numbers were smaller than what we see today. Why? Because immigration operated under restrictive quota systems, and international travel was expensive. So it is inaccurate to say Black immigration began after civil rights legislation. But it is also inaccurate to suggest immigration was unrestricted before 1965. Both realities are true. Now, let's talk about influence. The Civil Rights Movement, roughly 1954 to 1968, was led primarily by descendants of enslaved Africans in the United States. That fact is foundational. But the broader African diaspora also played meaningful roles. Marcus Garvey, born in Jamaica, founded the Universal Negro Improvement Association in 1914. By the 1920s, it became one of the largest mass movements of African-descended people in history. Garvey promoted Black pride, economic independence, and global unity. His ideas influenced generations. Malcolm X was born in Nebraska to a Grenadian mother and a father influenced by Garveyism. He rose to prominence within the Nation of Islam. Later, he reframed the Black freedom struggle as a global human rights issue. Stokely Carmichael, born in Trinidad, migrated to the United States at age 11. He later chaired the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. In 1966, he popularized the phrase Black Power. Harry Belafonte, born in Harlem to Caribbean parents, spent part of his childhood in Jamaica. He became a key fundraiser and advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. His role was not always visible, but it was significant. These figures were not peripheral. They were integrated into the broader struggle. Now, let's address the debate directly. Some within the foundational Black Americans movement argue that lineage-based Black Americans alone opened the immigration door. It is true that descendants of enslaved Africans carried the central burden of the civil rights movement. That sacrifice must never be minimized. At the same time, diaspora contributors helped shape the intellectual direction, the international framing, and the financial sustainability of that movement. These realities are not contradictions. They are intersections. It is also important to separate legal causation from political climate. The Civil Rights Act did not amend immigration quotas. However, the broader civil rights era helped create a national environment in which multiple reforms became politically possible. That distinction protects historical accuracy. Black history in America is layered. Black immigrants were present before 1965. Immigration reform occurred through separate legislation. The civil rights movement was primarily led by Black Americans, and diaspora figures contributed meaningfully to that struggle. Historical clarity does not diminish anyone. It strengthens credibility. And during Black History Month, credibility is a form of respect.
If this breakdown gave you something to think about, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And stay tuned for another episode of What is Going on Media, where we make the complicated clear.